Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Bet Right Sports Betting Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Farrell, here with my fabulous co-host, Andrew Tanzi. We are presented by the Six Pack Coverage Media Network. I see that face.
Fabulous. What a nice intro.
Fabulous. Yes, give you a nice compliment here. We are going to break down everything you need to know for the conference championship games in the NFL here. We will start off with a little recap of last week, say how everything went, and then we'll get into the games, break them all down, tell you any valuable bets that we see on the board, and then we will finish it off with our favorite bets of the week. And we can probably find a long shot play here, even though there's only 2 games. Our options are becoming more and more limited. But how was the divisional round for you?
Yeah, I mean, from a fan standpoint, it was, obviously everyone knows it's probably one of the best weekends of football that we've ever seen in our lifetime, maybe ever will see. Every game coming down to the last play. From a betting standpoint, it was okay. I felt like another week where it just every game from a spread standpoint was a toss up. Every game ended up coming down to the last play. I mean, I'm very excited with what this 49ers team has been able to do, because I was all over them at the start of the playoffs. If anyone's out there and took that Deebo Samuel Super Bowl MVP ticket, please send that to us on Twitter in a DM if you have that, because I'm just curious if anyone else took it, because if they win this week, that is live. It was what?
Don't get too excited yet. You still got a lot of work
I know.
in
I'm just saying.
But we're getting there. Right?
Yeah, we're getting
exciting.
There. We'll talk more about it next week when the 49ers win this week. But
yeah. Absolutely. But yeah, we're getting close on that one. All right. Recap from last week. Didn't go that great in terms of our favorite bets of the week. You had the Bills money line. Yeah, could have came home.
The Bills won that game. I mean, I don't care what anyone says. I still, in my mind, the Bills won that game. But here's what happened. So it ended up working out for me. I ended up profiting on that because I signed up for a new sports book, and I used a risk-free, maxed out the risk-free bet and put it on the Bills. And when the game went to overtime, as soon as the Chiefs won the coin toss, I live bet the Chiefs there minus 180. So I put a pretty good amount on that. So I ended up getting refunded for the Bills bet and profited on the Chiefs bet. But, if you were on the Bills that game, I feel like there wasn't a right or wrong side in that. It just came down to whoever had the ball.
Yeah, it was just total toss up.
And look, we're not going to get into the changing the overtime rules, because it's all anyone's been talking about this week. What it comes down to is the Bills couldn't stop the Chiefs from getting in field goal range in 2 plays with 13 seconds left. I mean, they blew it. They absolutely blew it. Everyone was celebrating on the sidelines. Tony Romo's talking about how the Bills won the game. And then next thing you know, Mahomes is in field goal range on just I just didn't understand, we'll get into the Bucs game, obviously, but, just questionable defensive schemes at the end of these games. You're rushing 4 on that last drive there. I mean, you rush 3 guys. You want as many guys in coverage, and then
rush 0 guys. You want as many, literally just drop all 11 guys. You want to take away the short passes and have Mahomes stand there and wait for someone to get open. I would have literally rushed 0 people.
Mahomes, no matter how much pressure's on him, he has to get rid of the ball quick. And then it looked like, the outside corner that was outside of Kelsey was playing the sideline, but they had timeouts. And then
the safeties are 35 yards deep, the whole middle of the field.
The safeties are 35 yards back, and the linebacker, slot corner, whoever was on the inside, drifted towards the middle where there was no receiver. So it just opened up this gaping seam.
It was they didn't know they had timeouts, and they're playing sideline prevent defense.
Yeah,
what do you think they're gonna do? They just need a quick completion over the middle.
And I've been saying all week, it's one thing if Mahomes completes a downfield pass on an amazing throw, or someone makes a one-handed catch or something like that. Neither of those throws in those last 2 plays were tough throws. Any quarterback in the NFL could have made those. So it was
we could have made those throws. The guy was standing wide open right in front of him.
So, I mean, maybe after a few warm-up tosses, I don't know. But anyway.
I could go in cold and make that throw. 10 yards over the middle.
Oh, no, I've seen you throw a football.
All right, so you took a loss there on your favorite bet. Me and our co-host, Dave, both had the Titans at minus 3.5. That one did not come home. Just really couldn't get anything going. Ryan Tannehill just made too many mistakes. It was a big waste of a defensive effort. That D-line played their butts off. Jeffrey Simmons was in the backfield every single play, and it just still didn't matter because the Titans couldn't do anything on offense. So both took a loss there.
It was that game was, to me, was again, I just see so many scenarios where coaches are overthinking things and players are overthinking things. So the one big moment in that game for me was where the Titans were stopped on the 4th down. I think it was third quarter at the time. And
yeah.
On third down, Tannehill keeps it instead of handing it to Henry and gets stuffed in the backfield. When you could tell if he just handed it to Henry, he would have got the first down. And then fourth down, they handed it to Henry and he gets stuffed. That was a huge play. And then even the first play of the game, I know it's easy to look back and say you threw an interception. They should have done a different play call. But you have Derrick Henry back. Just hand him the ball in the first play. Why are you overthinking it and putting Tannehill in a position to make a mistake right out of the gate? Just, even if Henry gets stopped for 2 yards, get him in the flow of the game. Get the crowd up and going with giving Henry the ball. It's just, I don't know, just so many things overthinking. I thought there was a few scenarios where the Titans just blitzed and there was no, we've been saying it all year how Burrow shreds the blitz, and I'm sure the Titans have those same numbers and Burrow made them pay, and they got 9 sacks. But outside of that, it just seemed anytime they didn't sack him, guys were wide open.
Yeah.
So it was a frustrating game to be a Titans backer, and Ryan Tannehill can go kick rocks for all I care.
Yeah, the interception he throws at the end, he's forcing a ball into a covered Nick Westbrook-Akine. Like, if you're going to throw a ball into coverage, throw it to A.J. Brown or someone that's good. Why are you forcing it to your fourth wide receiver on 3rd and 10?
Yeah, crazy.
Long shots of the week. I took a loss with Allen Lazard. It was all over him to score a touchdown. Turns out the Packers offense couldn't score many touchdowns themselves. So was not expecting Aaron Rodgers to throw 0 touchdown passes. So that was an unfortunate one. All right. You and Dave on your long shots. I cannot figure out how these didn't hit. If you would have told me that the 49ers would win the game, but Elijah Mitchell, Deebo Samuel wouldn't score a touchdown, and Elijah Mitchell wouldn't have 70 rushing yards. Like, how is there a planet that exists? How did none of these come home?
I mean, maybe if their offense puts up 3 total points and their defense, or 6 total points, and their offense defense does the rest.
Still can't believe that game happened. How did they win with 6 points on offense? I still don't believe it happened.
You know why? Because Aaron Rodgers is a grade A loser. I'm so tired of this guy. Look, he's the MVP. He's a great regular season quarterback. This guy can piss and moan in the offseason all he wants about how the organization doesn't get him any help or wants. Bro, it's
always everyone else's fault.
You had home field coming out of a bye week against a team that has just been on the road for 6 out of the last 8 weeks or whatever it was at the time, just an absolute gauntlet to even get to this game. The
quarterback's falling apart. He has 8 different injuries and can barely throw the ball.
You have the freezing cold. You have the snow. This is prime Lambeau Field football. And you got a freaking West Coast team coming in here with a quarterback with a banged up shoulder, banged up hand. Their left tackle gets banged up. Deebo gets banged up late in the game. And it was just like that first drive the Packers did, just woke up the entire 49ers team, woke up the defensive line, and just an absolute, I don't want to hear anything about, look, the special teams was an absolute train wreck. Aaron Rodgers put up 10 points at home in a playoff game. He put up,
that's what lost him the game.
I mean, I don't want to hear anything else about it. Aaron Rodgers, have fun in your little off-season festivities wherever you end up, but this dude's not winning another Super Bowl as far as I'm concerned.
Certainly doesn't look like it. Crazy to think that he could end his career with 1 Super Bowl appearance.
You can't script a better position for a team than that. Like at the start of the season,
what do you do next season that could beat what you did this season? Like, it's impossible.
Just everything going into that game was in the Packers' favor, it seemed like, and they couldn't get it done.
And not to mention the exact same thing happened the year before. I mean, obviously losing to the Bucs and Tom Brady, I guess that's somewhat excusable, but 2 years in a row where you're the favorite at coming out of the NFC with the number 1 seed going through Lambeau. No excuses.
Nope.
All right, let's get to our heroes and zeros of the week. Who will be your hero of the week from the divisional playoff round?
Yeah, it's got to be Jordan Willis, the guy that blocked the punt for the 49ers.
Got to be Jordan Willis.
See,
I could have named 6 other guys.
What do you mean?
It's got to be. I mean,
it's got to be. Who else would it be?
I don't know. It's just
he won them the game. The block punt won them the game. What are we talking about?
Great play by him.
Yeah, great play. Kept our 49ers futures alive. Again, second week in a row, bet heavy on the 49ers. So, yeah, dude, who do you want me to give it to? Jimmy G, who, speaking of, look, back to the game overall, Jimmy G could have thrown 7 interceptions in that game. I just want to get that out of the way. There were so many passes that floated out there, and I don't know I don't know how he didn't end up throwing a ton of interceptions.
Okay, now to be fair, because I've heard everyone crapping on Jimmy G all week, and he certainly deserves a lot of criticism. His receivers did not do him any favor. George Kittle literally dropped a 60-yard touchdown directly into his hands. If some of these receivers make the catches, maybe there's also some interceptions, but it's definitely a different story coming out of the game.
Yeah, you're right about that. But yeah, Jordan Willis might, put up more points than the entire Packers offense after their first drive. So Jordan Willis, my hero of the week.
That's why we bet on the Packers. We knew they had Jordan Willis coming to block those punts.
Exactly. That was the main handicap on the game.
As we said on the podcast last week. Heroes of the week for me, I'm going with a duo. I'm going to go Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. Betting aside, obviously I was rooting for the Bills. I had him, but just watching that game as a fan of the NFL, it was just pure bliss. These two majestic creatures slinging the ball down the field. I mean, you could have had the Baltimore Ravens, Ray Lewis, the 85 Bear. You could have had any defense on earth out there, and these two quarterbacks would have absolutely carved them up. I think they were just on another level. That was like peak quarterback performance. It was an incredible game that we got to watch from both of them. And it was just nice to enjoy that and aspire to have a quarterback in our own city that could achieve such greatness.
Big ask.
Yeah, no pressure, Hurts. You got this. All right, your zero of the week.
Todd Bowles, man, this guy, the one guy you want to key on in this last possession that the Rams were on is Cooper Kupp. And what does he do? He has a guy lined up over him in the slot and he blitzes him, leaving Winfield the safety guarding him 1-on-1, who played Kupp as if he had safety help, but he is the safety. So there wasn't safety help. He was the safety help, got absolutely burned. But what again, same thing, like the pressure is on Stafford to get rid of the ball. So why are you bringing a slot blitz, especially lined up over Cooper Kupp? And if you're bringing a slot blitz, at least have the guy show blitz. So Stafford's going to know it's coming and he'll probably just subconsciously get rid of the ball quicker because he knows a blitz is coming. But no, just, an all-time bad play call there by Todd Bowles. So, a brutal way to lose for the Bucs after coming all the way back, and the Rams pretty much doing everything in their power to throw that game away. So it was just, I kept getting this false hope that the Bucs were going to win, and then it just all came to a culmination that
the Bucs weren't even playing well. Like they would make so many mistakes themselves, and the Rams would just hand it right back. Like no, try again and score.
Yeah.
Like, we'll give you another chance. It was crazy that game. All right, Todd Bowles, well-deserved zero of the week. My zero of the week is going to be, obviously, Heath Farwell. You know who Heath Farwell is?
Lay it on me.
He is the special teams coordinator for the Buffalo Bills, and I am single-handedly placing the blame on him, as well as Sean McDermott. He deserves some as well. But for the Chiefs winning that game, okay, 13 seconds left in the game. The Bills are up by 3. The Chiefs have 2 timeouts. Very important to note that. Rue, what do you do on the kickoff in that situation?
You pooch kick it down inside the 10-yard line, forcing a return. And, I don't know if McDermott hinted in his post-game press conference that I forget the words he used. He either said what they planned wasn't executed, or there was a lack of communication or something. So it made me think.
Lack of communication is the biggest play of the season.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Go up and
freaking tell the guy what to do.
I agree. So I don't know if he had another plan. It just didn't happen or what, but yeah, I'm with you. Just poorly executed. But you do indeed have the number 1 ranked defense in the league, though, and you should be able to trust them to not.
The defense was irrelevant. Patrick Mahomes was doing whatever he wanted. You knew he was going to go down if he got the ball, and you couldn't stop him.
That wasn't Mahomes, though. Like, you can't tell me that was Mahomes. We already talked about this.
What do you mean?
Throws. Like the last 13 seconds, that wasn't Mahomes being amazing.
That's still Mahomes being on the field.
Yeah.
The reason the safeties are so deep is because they're respecting Mahomes. They're afraid of him. If that's Jimmy G back there, that doesn't happen. Anyway, Byron Pringle had 25 kick returns this year for an average of 24.8 yards, a season long of 39 yards. And if you kick it inbounds, you're running a minimum of 4 seconds off the clock. And that was the difference between the Chiefs being able to get 2 plays off and kick a field goal, or having to get 1 play and going for a Hail Mary. So Heath, farewell, zero of the week.
There was also, I feel like there was just so many outs for the Bills to win that game. Like, you have the kick, you could have held guys at the line of scrimmage and gotten a couple holding penalties, and there was just so many outs and ways for them to win that game, and they just I don't know. It was just.
Here's what you do. Here, you take your defensive linemen. You have 4 defensive linemen. You don't blitz anybody. You put each of them lined up directly in front of a wide receiver, and you have your cornerbacks playing a few yards behind them. You press them at the line with your giant defensive linemen. That wastes at least 2 seconds right there, and then they can go rush the passer, and you bring your safeties up a little bit so the middle of the field is not wide open. boom, you win the game.
Man, you should apply for a defensive coordinator job. We got D linemen lining up in the slot and outside. I like it.
Out of the box. All right. Any tips of the week for you? I have nothing this week.
Nope, nothing this week.
All right.
I'm just going to reiterate one thing we said at the start of the playoffs. So don't force bets in. Like I kind of looked through these slates. We were talking about it before we got on here. There's not a ton of props that we love on here. So,
yeah,
with only 2 games, there's a lot of money coming in on them. And the books can really focus on making these lines as efficient as possible. So you might not find a ton of value. I know it stinks going into a game if you don't have, any plays at all, or maybe only one play, but from a betting standpoint, just be smart about it.
Yeah, or also just say, okay, I'm going to bet on the game. I have $50. I want to spend it, but maybe you don't do it pregame. Maybe just do it live. Maybe see if the Chiefs fall down early if you want to take the Chiefs, or look at them to win the Super Bowl instead of just taking their money line. That way you still have something to root for in the game. You can still find creative ways to bet, even if you think the spreads are appropriate.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump into the first game. AFC Championship game played in Arrowhead. Bengals at the Chiefs. Chiefs are 7 to 7.5 point home favorites, depending on where you're looking. Over under is 54.5. Not seeing any weather issues. Looks like it's going to be high 30s, low 40s. This is a rematch of Week 17, where the Bengals won 34-31. Chiefs ran the ball 23 times for 155 yards in that game. Their leading receiver was Mecole Hardman with 1 catch for 53 yards. Very interesting game plan. The Bengals threw the ball 39 times. Jamar Chase had 266 receiving yards. I do not have any real injuries in this game other than Tyrann Mathieu, but it sounds like he is trending towards playing as of right now. But other than that, it seems like these teams are pretty much healthy going into it. Rue, do you have a bet on the side or total in this one?
So I have one bet in right now, and it's the Bengals over 2.5 touchdowns scored. You kind of just touched on it with the live betting. I think that's what I'm going to do from this standpoint. To me, a pre-game 7.5 just seems like too many points, and I think we're getting a little bit of a inflated number there with that Chiefs offensive performance last week. This Bengals team is good enough to, and this Chiefs defense is bad enough where this game can stay close enough, and a 7-point cover late in the game is not a lot to ask from a Bengals offense that's more than capable of exploiting this weak Chiefs defense. So I would just be, especially at 7.5, I certainly would not bet the Chiefs there. 7, 6.5, maybe you could make a case for it, but that extra, that hook there at the 7.5 is a pretty big deal to me. And I just think realistically, whoever gets the ball first in this game could go down and score a touchdown, and you're going to get a better number on the other side. And this is a game where I'd feel comfortable taking either side at a little bit better of a number. So if the Chiefs get it and go right down and score, and you get a number close to 10, or if the Bengals get it and go down and score, and you get the Chiefs maybe at 4, something like that. So I feel like there's going to be a lot of opportunities in this game to get a good number on one side. So that's how I'm going to be playing that. And I really do think, the Bengals, we kind of said, against the Raiders, they weren't that impressive, and they weren't super impressive from an offensive standpoint last week either. It seems like they can't convert once they got into plus territory. But this Chiefs defense, man, I talked about it last week about this false narrative that they've gotten better. And I know last week was Josh Allen, and he did a lot with his legs. And I'm not going to say Joe Burrow is what Josh Allen is right now, but this Bengals offense has more than enough to take care of this Chiefs defense, as we saw in their matchup earlier in the season. So I 2.5 touchdowns to me, I was expecting it to be lined at 3. Where we would take that chance and maybe getting a push or something. So you could take over 2.5 touchdowns. I don't hate their team total at 23.5 either. I don't see the Bengals having issues scoring points here. So it's going to come down to their defense and can they get a turnover here and there? I think Mahomes turned the ball over twice against them in that other matchup, which ended up being huge. So that's what this game comes down to for me, is turnovers. And I think you're going to have a chance to get a good number live on either team.
Okay, definitely think there could be some opportunities live in this game, live overs, live, either team if the other one goes up 7-0, 10-0. For me, I played the Chiefs at -6.5 in the opener. I don't know if I would touch it now. I really like it under 7. If it's a flat 7, I guess I would still play it. But couple keys here for me. The Bengals run defense has been sneakily really, really vulnerable recently over the last 3 real games that they played. So I'm throwing out that game against the Browns in week 18 where they didn't have half their team. They're allowing 133 rush yards per game and 6.2 yards per carry. And obviously we don't think of the Chiefs as a real running offense, but I just think that Mahomes is playing at such a level right now. Like, they're not going to be able to stop him. If they can also run the ball, like Clyde Edwards-Helaire looked pretty good last week. Jerick McKinnon has looked awesome all postseason. If the Bengals are giving up yards on the ground and you have Mahomes through the air, I think that spells a lot of trouble. And then the other thing that you touched on, the Bengals offense has had no problem at all moving the ball through the 20s. I think Burrow has been awesome there, but every time they get into the red zone, they have really, really struggled. And Zach Taylor has never met a field goal he doesn't want to try and kick. You're not going to beat the Chiefs or cover against the Chiefs by kicking field goals. The Bengals are 2 for 6 in the red zone. They have 3 total touchdowns and 8 field goals through the first 2 playoff games. And Joe Burrow, like we've seen it, I know that he's playing pretty well, but he's also taken some brutal sacks when they're, it's third down in the red zone. They're on the borderline of field goal range, and he takes a 15-yard loss because he just refuses to throw the ball away. And I know a lot of that's on the offensive line, but as a quarterback, you still need to know when it's time to throw the ball away. I mean, there was at least 2 drives last week where he actively took points off the board against the Titans from taking these big sacks. So I think the Bengals' inefficiency in the red zone, I think the Chiefs defense can do enough here. I think their D-line can create enough pressure. You have Chris Jones. I didn't think they played that bad against the Bills last week. Obviously, it wasn't a great performance, but like I said, I just think Josh Allen and Mahomes on the other side were on such a high level that you almost couldn't take anything away from either defense because they just didn't stand the chance. So I like the Chiefs here.
In the earlier matchup between these teams, the Chiefs, they decided to blitz a lot and they played a lot of man coverage, and that's a recipe for disaster against.
Yeah, I think they're going to need to change that.
Last week versus the blitz against the Titans, Joe Burrow, 10 for 10 for 192 yards. So don't blitz Joe Burrow.
No, you got to get pressure with the front four. You can't.
And it's just, and it's the same thing on the other side. You don't want to blitz Mahomes, but you saw last week, the Bills didn't get a ton of pressure on Mahomes. So
I feel like they did get some pressure. He was just always able to get out of it. Like every time they got pressure, he would make some ridiculous sidearm throw or elude the pressure and then make a play. Like I feel like the Bills tried, and just every time they got there, Mahomes just still overcame it.
I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what adjustments Spagnuolo makes on the defensive side. I thought they obviously did a good job on Diggs last week. He was basically non-existent. Yeah. So you might see a similar type like double coverage, bracket coverage on Chase this week, because obviously no one on the Chiefs is going to guard him one-on-one as you saw in that other matchup this year. And lucky for them, they do have 2 other solid weapons in Higgins and Boyd. So I think this Chiefs defense is going to have its hands full. I know Matthew looks like he's trending towards playing, which is a pretty big deal in this matchup, obviously. I do really think, obviously, the Chiefs win this game. Well, not obviously. You could make a case for the Bengals as having a shot here, but I do think the Chiefs win this game. So if, I'd love for the Bengals to jump out to an early lead, because not just in this matchup, but all the time, the Chiefs tend to be a profitable team to bet live. There was a good opportunity against the Steelers to do that early. So just keep your eye. Line's going to be moving like crazy this whole game, I would think. So should be a fun matchup.
Okay. Now, how confident are you in the Chiefs to win? Like, would you consider just betting them if you're like, I think the Chiefs are going to win. I don't know about the spread, but I'm very confident they win. Would you consider taking them plus 130 to win the Super Bowl? Like, do you think if they win this game, they'll have favorable matchups in the Super Bowl, or are you not there? You could see the Niners or Rams beating them.
I'm a little torn on it. I think there's an avenue for the Niners to beat them, running the ball, controlling. Like, they have the tools to keep Mahomes off the field and just run right down this team's throat and put pressure on that offense to where they will need to score every time. I know they're capable of scoring every time. The Rams, I feel like it would end up being a Stafford versus Mahomes shootout, a shootout attempt type thing. And I wouldn't trust Stafford in that. I wouldn't do it. They don't have the run game of the 49ers to
I agree. I think the 49ers are a tougher matchup.
Yeah. So would I take the Chiefs plus, what was it? Plus 130?
Plus 130.
I would say if you're on the Rams this week, I would. If you're on the 49ers, probably not. That would be the way I would look at it.
All right.
Well, I mean, look, it's good if you think the Rams can, or if the Chiefs can beat either team next week, then plus money, that's fine. Because
essentially, if you're very confident they beat the Bengals, you're going into next week's matchup with plus 130, and you know the actual spread in the game. You're gonna have to pay minus 165 for the money line.
Yeah,
probably.
So it gives you options going into next week.
Okay, just a strategy out there if anyone's not officially loving any play on this game. Props for you in this one.
I don't have anything yet. I'm debating. Like I said, I'm not sure what the Chiefs are going to do with Chase. I don't know that they'll be able to limit him even close to what they did to Diggs. But I think there's a way for either Boyd or Higgins to have a big game here. And I know Boyd's yards were pretty low last time I checked. They were like mid to upper 30s. So
I was looking at Higgins a lot. Boyd just kind of been invisible recently. I think this could be a Higgins game. He was 7 for 96 last week.
All right, that's fair. I'm fine with either one. I just haven't figured out which one I want to go with. Now
I feel like I never bet any of the Bengals receivers because I can never tell who it's going to be, and like they're always so good. But I'm like, there's 3 of them. I don't know who to pick.
Now look, it could easily be Chase goes for another 150 yards for all I know, but I'm gonna guess they're gonna key on Chase on the defensive side, and we saw what that did last week. That Gabe Davis had the game of his life. So yeah.
All right, I have 2 props in on this one right now. I'm going to be looking for Jerick McKinnon yards. They're not posted yet. I want to see what the receiving number is and the rushing plus receiving. I think he's been the best back in this Kansas City backfield all playoffs. He has had, last week, 5 for 54 through the air. The week before that, 6 for 81. So he's getting catches. He's getting yards after the catch. He's looked explosive. And then I said the Bengals are vulnerable on the ground. He did get 10 carries and 12 carries the past 2 weeks. So maybe if you got like a rushing plus receiving in the high 60s, something like that, I think that could be a good look. And then I played Travis Kelsey over 72.5 yards. It looks like it's moving up on some books. I'm seeing like 75.5. But the last time these 2 teams played, Kelsey just went 5 for 25, but it was his first game off the COVID list. And he did have kind of a little bit of a lull in the middle of the season, but the Bengals ranked 24th in DVOA versus the tight ends. In the playoffs, Kelsey has been awesome. 5 for 108 and 1, 8 for 96 and 1. So I think this could definitely be a Travis Kelsey week and could see him in the end zone again as well. So those would be my props for this one.
All
right, let's move on to the NFC. San Francisco 49ers against the LA Rams in LA, 3.5-point favorites. The over-under keeps going down to 45.5 now. Couple injuries in this one for the Rams side. Andrew Whitworth is questionable. I believe he was limited in practice today on Thursday. Darrell Henderson was activated off IR, but he did not play last week, so no official word on if he'll be available this week or not. On the 49ers side, Debo and Elijah Mitchell both banged up. I believe George Kittle was banged up a little bit at the end of that game too, but it sounds like all of them are going to play. I think they've all been practicing. Trent Williams is the bigger question mark. Their left tackle is dealing with an ankle injury. He has not practiced yet this week, but it does sound like there's some level of optimism in San Francisco. So I think they're definitely going to want him out there against this Rams pass rush. So that's kind of the injury news here. Obviously, this is the 3rd matchup between these 2 teams. The Niners won both of the first 2 meetings, including that epic Week 18 comeback that punched their tickets into the playoffs. And a stat that you mentioned earlier, this will be the Niners' 7th road game in the last 9 games and the 4th must-win road game in a row. Is there any concern in your mind? Obviously, we've been backing the 49ers pretty much every game in that run. Is there any concern in your mind that this just can't keep going and they have to run out of gas at some point and they're banged up and they're beaten down and it just all falls apart here? Do you think they can muster up one more week before they get a week off for the Super Bowl?
Yeah, first of all, to be clear, there's not much home field advantage here. These games end up being at worst 50% 49ers fans. You could end up getting more than 50% of 49ers fans.
I think I saw StubHub saying this was like the largest ticket handle they've ever had on a game because there were so many like 49ers fans because they won't sell that many tickets to the opposing team. So they have to get them on StubHub. So yeah, it could definitely be, you could make a case it's a 49ers home game at the end of the day.
Yeah. So I don't really view this as a tough road game. I think that big test for them was last week in Lambeau and they found a way to overcome it. We've touched on it all year when these teams matched up that Shanahan pretty much has Sean McVay on a leash, winning 6 straight against them. And the one thing I really like about this 49ers team is it feels like even when they get behind in a game, even when the second half, they just kind of stick to their game plan. They still, they run Elijah Mitchell. They use Debo out of the backfield. They really just seem to never panic. They trust their defense. This defensive line, I can't say enough about how much they've stepped up. I mean, they are just playing at an elite level. If there's any team that can match the Rams in the trenches on both sides of the ball, it's this 49ers team. So
Niners D-line has 5+ sacks in 3 straight games against 3 elite quarterbacks, Stafford, Dak, and Aaron Rodgers. Pretty impressive stuff.
Yeah, and if you watched last week, the Bucs pass rush was pretty much non-existent. It felt like Stafford really, I mean, there was a few plays where they got pressure on him, and I know they had a few sacks in there, but for most of the game, it just seemed like the pressure was not getting there, and that's not going to be the case this game. I can't say enough about this 49ers. They had success running the ball against the Rams in both games this season. Tampa Bay, we saw them have some success with Fournette early in the games and a little bit in the second half, but obviously they had to pass for most of the games they were trailing. So, I just think scheme-wise on both sides of the ball, this 49ers team has the Rams figured out. And people are saying the Rams are due. Are you really due after 6 straight games, or are you due after 2 or 3? At some point, the team just owns you. And I'll just say this line to me, it just seems when you factor in that there really isn't a home field advantage, we're getting a 3.5 here. That's just like, it just seems like a trap line almost. It makes me feel less confident because I'm thinking this game should be close to a pick 'em the way these teams have been playing. And I know Jimmy G didn't look great last week and he's banged up and they only won because of a blocked field goal. But I mean, give this team some credit, man. They're playing great football. And I think they have all the tools to take down this team. And this 49ers team was not one I was high on coming into the season, but they are a fun team, and they don't really, it's a fun team for me. And it's not like they have like an exciting quarterback, or they're not like
it's weird that they're a fun team. They're like a grind it out, run the ball, but like, it's awesome.
I love everything about this team. And, and look, as much as I love this team, this isn't me being biased towards them. I think this is a great number, getting 3.5 in this matchup. So I took them at 3.5, and I took their money line too at plus 160.
Yeah, I'm with you. I was going to say, I think the money line is definitely live here. And another thing, this is probably more applicable to 3.5. Like, I just think the back door is wide open. Sean McVay, I've been saying this for months, years, however long you want. He is incredible at scheming offense. One of the best offensive minds in the game, no doubt about that. But in terms of in-game coaching, I think he is one of the worst coaches in the entire league. If you get this guy with a lead, he is absolutely vulnerable. We have seen it week after week. Some of the conservative things that he runs, like last week, they're obviously up big on the Bucs. Matthew Stafford is averaging 9.7 yards per attempt, and he is running the ball with Cam Akers against one of the best run defenses in the league, nonstop. Akers finishes with 24 carries, averaging 2 yards per carry. And oh, by the way, he also had 2 brutal fumbles that almost cost them the game. And we saw the exact same thing when the Rams and the Niners played in week 18. The Rams get the ball at their own 40-yard line, 1:50 left. They need 1 first down to win the game. What does he do? He runs off the left tackle with Sony Michel 3 times in a row for a total of 4 yards and punts the ball away with Cooper Kupp, the best receiver in a decade, standing over there, and he doesn't even give him a target. This guy coaches not to lose. He does not coach to win. I think the 49ers in comeback mode, if they get down early, like you said, they're not going to panic. McVay is a horrible, horrible coach with a lead, and they just want to run these negative EV run plays into the teeth of defense, and this Niners run defense has been fantastic. So look for another high-volume, incredibly inefficient game from the Rams running game.
All right, here, I'm glad you brought that up. Here, I do have a tip of the week, and it's related to you and your bozo brother, Dave. Do not panic when these teams go down early. I don't want these first quarter, oh my God, it's over, this sucks. For everyone out there, the Packers drive down the field on the opening drive or whatever, and then the 49ers go 3 and out a couple times. And I have Jeff and Dave just crying to me in a group chat about how stupid we were for betting the 49ers, how this is going to be a blowout. And I'm just getting trounced for being the one saying, guys, it's the first quarter, kind of, oh, well, if Rodgers is going to be moving the ball like this all game, it's going to be a blowout. Guys, it's a 4-quarter game. Just calm down. The Rams were up 17-0 on the 49ers last game, and they blew it. The 49ers came back and won. There's so much that can go wrong. There's so much that happens in these games. Just don't panic. So that's my tip for mainly you and Dave, but everyone else out there who wants to cry when their team goes down early that they bet on.
Can I give you the counterpoint?
Please.
Okay, the counterpoint is we had the exact same dynamic in the Bengals and Titans game, and me and Dave were freaking out because Ryan Tannehill looked like crap. The Titans couldn't move the ball. Derrick Henry looked incredibly slow, and we were saying that this is not good. They're going to lose, and you're like, no, everything's fine. They got them right where they want them. They're fine. Guess what? They ended up losing the game, and we were totally justified for freaking out in the first quarter.
No,
and you were
weren't.
the crazy one for saying everything's fine when it never was fine.
No, because regardless, the game wasn't decided in the first quarter. The Titans
didn't say it was 100% over, but if a team I bet on comes out and throws 2 straight interceptions, I'm allowed to be upset about that.
You're such a baby, dude. Like, just oh my god, but I can't.
Baby, that's
I'm thinking I'm muting our group chat this weekend. It's just so when the freaking Rams score on the first possession of the game, I don't see your guys' tears coming through the group chat that the 49ers are going to lose by 20 points.
Oh, good. Then we don't have to hear about you going to the stupid car wash every freaking day. You're like, dude lives at the car wash. It's crazy. Any props for you in this game, Mr. Car Wash?
Yeah, I'm going right back to Elijah Mitchell over 17.5 attempts. We got burned on it last week.
Do we have it a line for attempts?
Yeah, 17.5. It's up on DraftKings. It's up on
it is. Okay.
And MGM. We got burned at 18.5 last week, I think. But look, he still had 17 carries last week in a game where the 49ers went 3 and out and on their first few possessions. It felt like they barely had the ball in the first half. And he still ended up with 17 carries. Against the Rams this year, it was 27 and 21 carries. And, before last week, it was 6 straight games with at least 21 carries. And we talked about it, that they're going to stick to this game plan of running the ball. So 17.5 attempts here seems to me like a complete overreaction to last week. And I will be right back on that.
Can I give you a counterpoint?
Yes, that Debo's going to keep getting carries. That's fine. He had 10 last week, and Mitchell still sold 17.
Not only that he's getting carries, it's been trending up. If we go back to the Tennessee game, 5 carries, then 7, then 8, then 10, then 10. Like, you could give Debo a reasonable expectation to get 11 to 12 carries here. It starts to get a little bit thin with Elijah Mitchell also getting 18.
This team's going to run the ball until they have to pass. So that's a thing. Like, that's what they want. They want Debo to get 12 and they want Mitchell to have 20. That's their offense.
Yeah, people want a lot of things. Doesn't mean it's going to happen.
It's happened for 6 out of the last 7 games that he's gone over this number. So I'll take my chances.
Yeah, but if you give Debo 3 or 4 more carries in all those games, I don't know if Mitchell's
he's still over because he's getting 27. He's getting 24. He's getting 21. 21 attempts.
Sounds like it's trending down and Debo's trending up.
No, not quite.
All right. Do we have a rush attempt line for Debo?
Let me see here.
Be interested if that was like a 8.5. I'd probably take the over on that.
No, it's just Cam Akers. Cam Akers is also 17.5. That's
okay.
It.
I have a play I wanted to run by you here, unless you have any other props.
Nope, go for it.
All right. How do we feel about going back to Cam Akers under rush yards? It is at 59.5. When I initially looked at it,
63.5 right now.
Where?
DraftKings.
Oh, great. I'll be able to bet $12 on it. Exciting. Okay. Cam Akers under 63.5 rush yards for those of you that can bet normal amounts of money on DraftKings Sportsbook. So yeah, like I said, when I first looked at it, I didn't really love it, but the more I dug into it, I think I really like this one. First off, do you think there is any chance that he gets, I don't want to say punished, but do you think that they incorporate some more of the other running backs because he lost 2 fumbles and almost lost them the game?
I don't see it as punishment. I see it as I wouldn't trust
smart game plan.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust a guy to carry the ball, 20 plus times like he did last week, who had 2, not just fumbles, but back-breaking, almost game.
I mean, the one was at the 4-yard line.
Yeah, so I do think his carries get a little bit more limited here, and that we could see Sony Michel. And I know you can finish your breakdown because I'm probably going to say what you're going to say. So go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say you have this elite 49ers run defense that we've seen, and it as good of a story as Cam Akers is coming back and stuff, he hasn't been all that great since he's come back.
He's averaging 2.3 yards per carry since coming off the injury. Like, that's the guy that we need to force feed 24 carries to.
So yeah, me saying he hasn't been that great is a compliment at this point. So yeah, it's hard to dispute taking his under rush yards here against another great run defense. And I gotta.
Do you want to guess? So we think the Niners run defense is pretty good. They're actually like really freaking good. Do you want to guess the last time the Niners defense allowed an opposing running back to run for 60 yards on them?
Let me just pull up their schedule and try and make a guess here. I will say Mike Davis again. No, I'm just kidding.
Mike Davis, of all the guys you could pick.
I'm just kidding. Was it their loss to Tennessee?
It was not. I mean, you're never going to get the answer.
All right, go ahead.
So the actual answer is Travis Homer in week 13 on a fake punt.
Oh,
remember he ran the 70 yards back? Outside of that fluky punt play that was a special teams play, you have to go all the way back to week 9 in early November when James Conner went 21 for 96. That's the last time a running back has even gotten over 50 yards against this Niners run defense. Like, they have quietly been like elite against the run. And I knew them to be a good run defense. I didn't know their numbers were that good.
Wow. All right, I'm in.
Yeah. Right, and like we said, last week, Akers played 80% of the snaps, saw 96% of the carries, and still didn't break 50 yards. Like, even if the guy does get the volume and doesn't get punished, he could still go under. And like I said, Darrell Henderson was activated off IR. We don't know if he's going to play yet, but if he does, that could even be a few carries gone right there.
All right, let me see. I just got limited on DraftKings, so let's see what we got on. It's 61.5 on FanDuel right now, in case anyone was wondering. And let's check BetMGM. Maybe they usually have similar lines to DraftKings, I feel like. Yeah, Cam Akers is 63.5 on BetMGM.
All right.
So if you
Cam
are
Akers under 63.5 rush yards, will be probably making an appearance on the prop sheet. Grab it.
Yes. Wow, I can't believe that's going up though.
I took it at 59.5. I thought that was pretty reasonable. I'm surprised it went up.
Yeah.
Any other props for you in this one? Would you go back to a Debo touchdown?
What are the odds there? Is it minus?
I think it's like minus 105. Will the Niners score a touchdown this week? That's probably question number one.
Oh, he's even money on FanDuel. That's pretty good odds. Yeah, I would take a stab at that.
Okay. All right. I think that concludes our breakdown of the games. Hopefully we gave some people some valuable bets out there. I know it's tough with only 2 games. The lines are pretty efficient this late in the season, but dug through everything, gave everything we thought was worth a play. You ready to give out your long shot of the week?
Yeah, it's pretty boring, but
Niners money line.
Yes.
Debo touchdown.
No, it is. I'm basically just parlaying my 2 favorite plays from the game. So I'm going.
Okay.
I will go 49ers money line, and then I'm going to parlay that with the Bengals to score over 2.5.
I thought we were doing a same game parlay. You're doing the Bengals. Okay.
Yeah. So Bengals over 2.5 touchdowns. So that's plus 350 right now on FanDuel. So
okay,
pretty good odds.
Does it concern you that the Bengals would rather kick 8 field goals than score 3 touchdowns?
I think that was more. I'm not going to say he's going to come out and go for it on every 4th down and stuff, but I think he knows he's playing the Kansas City Chiefs and he's no longer playing the Las Vegas Raiders and the Tennessee Titans, and that field goals aren't going to beat the Chiefs. So I do expect to see a little more aggression and hopefully some regression in the red zone numbers.
Fair enough. All right, my long shot of the week, I'm going to go with Mr. Patrick Mahomes for an anytime touchdown. I got this last week at like plus 420. Unfortunately, the odds are a little bit dipped this week, but we do have a plus 280 out there on BetMGM. I checked all the books I have access to. That was the best I could find, but check your books out there. If you can find something over plus 200, I think that's a decent bet. You could also add in, Patrick Mahomes to score and Chiefs to win. That could boost your odds a little bit. But I'm going to go Mahomes anytime touchdown at plus 280. We talked about his running splits in the playoffs versus the regular season a couple times already this postseason. In 63 regular season games, Patrick Mahomes has 8 total touchdowns scored. That's basically 1 every 8 games. in 10 postseason games, 5 touchdowns scored. He scored last week. That's 1 in every 2 games. So we've talked about it a bunch. Mahomes in the playoffs loves to run the ball. He is not afraid to run in the red zone, and I'm going to take him for an anytime touchdown at plus 280.
I like it.
All right. Your favorite bet of the week is what?
I'm going to think really outside the box here and say 49ers plus 3.5 is my favorite bet of the week.
All right. 49ers keep the train going. Let me ask you a question before I give my favorite bet of the week. Would you consider doing a Chiefs and 49ers 6-point teaser? Or would you pay more for a 6.5 or a 7? Because obviously getting the Niners up to 9.5 kind of leaves you in the dead zone. Like no game really lands 9. 8's not even that valuable. Like, would you consider it, even though it's technically not like a mathematically correct teaser? Would you try and get them over 10, or is teasers out for you and you just kind of like the spreads where they're at?
I experimented a little with the non-traditional teasers here in the playoffs, and they haven't been successful. So
they haven't gone well. So
I've come to the conclusion that the straight up long teaser, teasing through the 2 key numbers of 7 and 3, that's the way to go. So for me, it's a pass.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I've heard a lot of people recommend it this week, but I don't know if I really see the value. I feel like if you think the Niners are going to keep the game close, like you're already getting 3.5. Like you're not really going through that many key numbers by teasing them all the way up to 9.5. I think if you think they're going to keep it close, just take them 3.5. If you think they're going to win, just take a money line. You don't need to tease it just because it makes you feel safer. If you think the Niners are going to win the game, the bet is just take them on the money line. So I think I'm with you there.
Yeah.
All right, my favorite bet of the week. Favorite prop of the week. I think I'm going to go with Cam Akers under rush yards. Favorite side of the week. I will join you with the 49ers plus 3.5. I have not actually bet this yet. I'm kind of waiting to see where the number goes.
The 49ers?
Yes.
Oh, dude, I'd grab it. I mean, I'm not saying
it hasn't moved though. Like, do you think there's any chance we could see a 4? Like, I'm hearing a lot of love on the Rams. Like, I hear everyone I hear talk about this game just talks about how injured the 49ers are and how the Rams did everything for this moment. Like, this is why they built this team, as if that means they're going to somehow win the game and the Niners won't. I
get it, but 3.5 is just such a nice number. If you want to come back on it, if we end up getting a 4, then just don't.
That's a good point.
Just don't bet a full bet, but I feel like losing the half point to go from
is way better than getting the 4. Yeah.
Is like a bigger deal than getting the 4. Exactly. So I would take the 3.5 right now. And if we end up getting a 4, just come back on it.
Yeah. All right. That makes sense. All right. 49ers 3.5 for me. Anything left for you to say? We have only one more podcast left for this NFL season.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. So we'll be back.
Not next week,
not
but
next
the following week.
Following week, and anyone who follows us on Twitter. If you don't follow us on Twitter, make sure you do. We're giving out NBA, our favorite NBA prop.
I got a whole breakdown here of that.
Oh, sorry. All right, go ahead. Didn't mean to steal your thunder.
Okay, I'm just gonna say, if you like our content, if you like the NBA, if you like winning money betting on the NBA, make sure to check out our Twitter page at BetRightPod, or check out sixpackcoverage.com and go on over to the NBA section. Now that we are not spending 20 plus hours a week breaking down every single bet and prop and game for the NFL, we have a little more free time on our hands. So we are writing a daily article with our favorite NBA play of the day. We look through all the props, all the lines, see the one that sticks out the best. We bet it through each other, make sure we're all on the same page. Full breakdown and write-up posted up on the website. We are off to a blistering hot 6-1 start in the NBA prop streets. The only thing that could stop us was a Darius Garland injury and a blowout. But so far, things have been going great. So if you do love the content that we provide, that will be our main communication throughout the rest of the year until football season starts up again. We'd love to do an NBA podcast, but it's kind of tough with COVID and injury news. Just the information and the content can become obsolete very, very quickly. So at least this gives us a way to still interact with everyone, put some plays out, and make some money along the way. So check out our NBA plays.
Look, we can put out an NBA podcast. If anyone out there has enough money to pay us both a full salary to put out an NBA podcast.
That's all it'll take. We're not asking for much.
I mean, I feel like that is a reasonable thing to ask of someone. So if you're out there and you want to hear us every single day with NBA, I will wake up every morning and do that. You just need to cough up some money first. And next week, I guess when we're back for the Super Bowl, we'll touch a little bit on the offseason plans and stuff for leading up to the next NFL season. We'll start the podcast a little earlier than we did this year.
Yeah, we're going to go a little bit more in details with the season previews, the season-long player props, the futures bets. I think we can really have some fun with them, whereas last year we just kind of did one big, long episode. So we can probably break that up and do a couple shorter episodes.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, that wraps it up here. Hope everyone out there has a fantastic divisional championship weekend in the NFL. Enjoy the heck out of these games, because before we know it, the NFL season will be coming to an end and we'll be wandering around waiting till next season. Any questions, comments, or concerns, hit us up on Twitter at BetRightPod. The DMs are always open. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Leave us a review and tell us about the show and how you think about it. Smash the like button on YouTube. The link to the YouTube video will be in the description of this podcast or on our Twitter page. From Jeff and Rue, we are the Bet Right Sports Betting Podcast, because every time you bet with us, you bet right.